Your money and your finances should match what your priorities are. And so that's part of the conversation I have with clients too, is after we've established a plan, after we've set goals and come up with strategies, we have regular meetings. Yes. And we dive into, hey, how's your $100 a month savings plan going to meet this goal that you said you wanted to do? And if they're been inconsistent, then it's like, okay, is this really important to you?
Sure.
You said it is, but your actions aren't following suit.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Caleb Gordon Podcast. I'm your host, Caleb Gordon. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be a part of the program today. Today, I sit down with Lucas Nettles, and we talk about finance, retirement, investments, all of the things that are revolving around your money and your future and your legacy. He works with Revo Financial in an investment planning capacity, and we discuss all the things that are necessary for making a legacy that lasts for your kids and your grandkids. So I pray that this conversation encourages you and it challenges you today. Blessings. Welcome to the Caleb Gordon Podcast, Mr. Lucas Nettles. How in the world are you doing, my friend?
Doing well. Doing great. Just our youngest just turned 9 months and our oldest turned 10, and we got 3 boys in the middle, and so it's busy.
I think
at
the
home.
Last time you were on the program, your youngest had just literally been born a couple of weeks after,
yeah, I think
or maybe
so.
She may have been still pregnant.
She was born in October, so I can't remember when that episode was. But
it was back last
near
fall.
Thanksgiving, I think.
It was close to Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yep, because we talked about thankfulness and gratitude.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons I'm bringing you on is I put out on my social media feeds what are people wanting to talk about? What are people wanting to hear about on the podcast? And one of the things was I'd like to know about money, investments, retirement. Is debt good or bad? Mm-hmm. Questions like that. So I said, well, shoot, you're my financial advisor guy. You're the guy you're planning my retirement. So why not bring you on the show and talk about retirement? Because everybody's like, oh, debt. If you're a Dave Ramsey follower, debt is the devil.
Right.
And so, which I don't think necessarily debt is all bad.
Right.
But I think the majority of what people use debt for, probably not the best.
Right. Yeah.
But, yeah. So let's just begin with who is Revo Financial, or what is Revo Financial, and who is Lucas Nettles?
So Revo Financial is an independent financial planning firm. We specialize in aligning faith and finance in our practice, whether it's a financial plan that's based on biblical stewardship principles, giving planning, taking dominion and furthering the kingdom through your finances and through your plan, or investing, specifically focusing on companies that are doing things to the glory of God, furthering the good things in the world, clean water, responsible medical practices, avoiding social issues. In business, focusing on social issues doesn't necessarily turn profit. It just caters to the mob. Yeah. And we like to help our clients invest in companies that are doing good things, that are producing good products, that take care of their employees, and that are benefiting mankind as a whole.
Yeah.
And even better if they are faith-based and faith-focused in the Lordship of Christ in their business.
So interesting enough, I had a conversation with a guy that I work with, and he told me that he was having a conversation with a fella about investing, and he said, I don't want to invest in something that's questionable. I don't want to invest in things that are not, I don't want to put my money towards things that are going to, help support abortion, support, the LGBTQ garbage. I don't want to be a part of that stuff. How do I know that my money won't be going towards that? He goes, well, we'll do our best, but we can't always guarantee that that's always going to be the case. Is that true?
So we rely primarily on a couple of trusted partnerships.
Okay.
We are experts in working with clients, setting goals with clients, helping strategize how to get there. But we don't spend all day, every day looking at companies, doing the research. So we rely on a couple of providers, a couple of partners that do that. They do the screening. They go deep into companies to see what their practices are, see where their money's going, see where their initiatives are focused. And we do our due diligence with what those partners provide in terms of funds, mutual funds, ETFs. But we rely on those trusted partnerships to help provide biblically responsible investment strategies. And so, again, we do the due diligence, but we let the experts do the research. Yeah. And so whether or not it's true, I think, we live in a society where things are changing constantly. A company for a period of time may be extremely biblical in its practices, but, sometimes there's a change in leadership. Sometimes there's a change in values. And so it's not that you can't be responsible, can't be a good steward of your investments. It's, are you being intentional about it? Are you relying on someone to do the research, or are you doing the research yourself to make sure you know where your dollars are? Because when you're an investor, I think I mentioned this on the last podcast, you're an owner of that company. So whether you have one share or 1,000 shares, you have part ownership in the company. So you ought to know what your dollars are doing. And I think that's what stewardship requires of us is being intentional, doing things that focus on bringing glory to God, getting a good return, and seeking to leave a legacy both in value, but also in inheritance in other ways, whether it's finances, whether it's property, the gospel itself is to be stewarded. Yes. So leaving an inheritance of the gospel in your family. So stewardship is a big part of it, and being intentional. And when there's a player that makes a change, then we eliminate that and find an alternative.
Fantastic. So if somebody comes into your office and said, man, Lucas, I don't know where to start. I want to invest. I want to have a good retirement. I want to leave a legacy to my children. I want to leave something to my kids to be able to not be a burden to them, but be able to be a blessing to them. How would you advise me if I just come in and I say, listen, I want to have a good retirement. I'm 40 years old. I've not really thought about these things. What should I do?
Yeah, so we're a financial planning firm. I think if you're going to shoot for something, you need to set a target. So all of our plans are centered around a goals conversation where we work with our clients to discuss what's important to them. We define those goals, and they have dollars associated with them. They have timelines associated with them. And that helps us build recommendations and strategies so that the client, after they've outlined where they want to be, where they want to end up, we can give them a step-by-step actionable plan on how to get there. Yeah. Everybody starts from a different place. Whether you have $1,000 in your bank account or $1 million in your bank account, you have a current financial situation, your current finances, you have where you want to be, and then we work with clients and offer strategies to get from where they are to where they want to be. And so that's what I always recommend, even if it's just a basic plan. If they're only talking about retirement, we prefer to be more holistic because there are other goals than just retiring at 65 or whatever it may be. There's regular expenses, there's leaving an inheritance to your children, there's even charitable giving is a part of the conversation. A lot of people plan for other expenses and other goals, but many people don't say, I want to be giving, I want to have a benevolence fund that I can tap into at any time when I see an opportunity to give, whether it's in the church or someone in need. And I think that's what the Bible would have good stewards do. God owns it all.
Yes.
We've been given provision. We need to provide for our family. The Bible says that he who doesn't provide for his family is worse than an unbeliever. So there is responsibility there. But I also would think that if we're seeking to imitate Christ, then we should be generous. It doesn't mean give it all away. It just means be intentional about looking for opportunities to minister to other people with what God has given you.
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. So one of the conversations that you and I had, actually it was last Christmas. We were standing in the public square of the big Christmas celebration that our town puts on every year. And one of the things that we were talking about is what can we do as Christians to try to figure out how to build wealth to take back ground that has been forfeited to the enemy,
right,
and literally take dominion back. I mean, that's one of the things that God tells Adam in the book of Genesis. He says, I've given you dominion. Now go. Now we know that sin has entered in and we have a fallen world, and so we have a fight on our hands a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And what's a good way for us to build generational wealth to help take back ground from the enemy?
Well, I think, what we're really talking about here is faith in practice. A lot of us tend to live lives where, we have our faith that we practice on Sunday and Wednesday, but it doesn't necessarily enter into our business or our employment. But I think God calls us to be faithful regardless of the circumstances, and to be faithful in all that He's given. If you own a business, be faithful with it. Use the business to further the kingdom of God, to leave a legacy for your family. And we can obviously help develop a strategy on how to accomplish that. There's no blanket financial advice that applies to everyone. You definitely should work with a financial professional who's certified, who has experience, who can look into your personal circumstances and give you specific advice on how to get from where you are to where you want to be. We already talked about that. But leaving a legacy, leaving an inheritance, sometimes it's challenging, particularly for young families. It's like, I don't have a lot.
Yep. Yeah, that was my next place I wanted to go. For the young family, it doesn't have much. They've just gotten married. Maybe they're pregnant, getting ready to have a baby. But how would you tell them, this is how you can take back ground? This is how you can take dominion?
I think very practically, it's walking out faith in every aspect of your life. When your children see you practicing what you preach, you're already leaving a legacy of faithfulness, dependency on Christ. Whether it's in your business, being a good employer, treating your employees better than anybody else, standing firm on your convictions regardless of the social push that comes, and then just being wise in the way you steward resources. And all of that, again, comes back to planning. If you want to hit a target, you have to define the target. Yes. You have to have a strategy to get there. And the plan is the map. And so most people, I always use this statement, most people spend more time planning for a week-long vacation than 30 years of retirement.
Yep.
And we come, after a generation that, not everybody's like this, but a generation that is focused on living and spending what they've earned and not leaving anything to their children. But I think the Bible is clear, blessed is the man who leaves an inheritance to his children's children. And often that means looking further out than 10 years or even 30 years or even the end of your life. Yeah. We all want immediate benefit from the decisions we're making. Sure. But, you may not see the immediate fruit, but you should be making decisions and making plans that are generational.
Come on.
And it's just a challenge to think that way, because a lot of our financial operation is month to month. This is my budget. Yep. These are my expenses this year. This is my raise amount this year, whatever it may be. But I think the benefit of working with a financial planner, a financial advisor, someone who's qualified, yes, is that they can challenge you to think beyond your normal thought process.
And that was one of the things that when we met, we sat down and looked at the budget, and we started building out this budget for us and looking at the things that we did spend our money on.
Right.
It's embarrassing to talk about it now, but I'm like, holy cow, the things that we were spending money on.
Right.
That didn't, because we weren't putting it in front of our faces. We were just ignoring it, going out and buying the coffee or buying the eating out, doing whatever it is, and just not even thinking about what we're doing. And then you start seeing it on paper, and then it adds up month to month.
Right.
And you're like, holy cow, that was not a good way to steward my money.
Right.
Like that, there was hundreds of dollars that went to something really foolish.
Right.
That didn't seem foolish in the moment.
Right. Well, it's little incremental decisions.
Right.
I mean, you mentioned coffee. I mean, it's easy, especially with inflation and the cost of, I mean, this is no slight against any business owner, but like things are expensive.
Yep.
And so that coffee that was $3.50 5 years ago is now $5, $6, $7. And, you know, in the moment, spending that $7 doesn't seem like a big deal, but it adds up if you do it every day. And the thing is, there's no prescription as to what's right to spend money on.
Exactly.
But what's most important about budgeting and cash flow is being aware of where your money's going. I think that's where stewardship comes in, because most of us don't realize what we're spending, where we're spending it.
No.
And so,
and I remember when I was a kid, my mom and dad used to, in their checkbook, they'd have a ledger of every check that they wrote. Mom was religious. Like she would nightly go through her checkbook and write down everything that she had spent money on. She kept a ledger. And so she had all that information, and she taught me how to do that, but I just haven't really kept that up in my own personal life. And then I go back and look at my checking account ledger, and I'm like, what the heck did I spend that? What did I do? And then when you start seeing it in real time and really focusing on it, you're like, that was sort of kind of foolish.
Right. And at the end of the day, you know, if you intended for, you know, whatever amount of money to be spent on that, great.
Yeah.
It went where you wanted it to go. But most of us don't realize how those little transactions add up. And at the end of the day, it's like, okay, I could have gone to the coffee shop once a week instead of every day. And I could have X amount of dollars left over, and I could put it to use to reach those goals that I've defined, whether it's, you know, helping my children buy a house, whether it's buying a family property so that I have some generational ability to have a place for my family. All those things, you know, it's the, what is it? Death by 1,000 cuts.
Right.
You know,
yes.
Those little pieces that chip away, and at the end of the day, you've squandered. You've been an unfaithful steward, and you don't even realize it until you actually look at what you're spending. And so that's part of the conversation I have with most of my clients is, what are you spending, and are you spending your money, your resources on what matters most to you?
Yeah.
Most of us would say that an extra cup of coffee is less valuable than, you know, maybe sending my kid to college, or, you know, helping them start a business, or helping them buy a house. And
those are immediate. I mean, those are not things we cut out completely. I mean, I like to do a weekly date with my wife, and we go have morning coffee. Usually on a Saturday morning, we'll go to either Jude's or Outpost or something, somewhere local. That way we support a local business. We don't go to Starbucks. So, and I'm not saying that those are horrible, wicked things to partake in. Just saying there needs to be, I think, putting these things in front of our faces is the thing that makes it more tangible as to what I'm actually doing. And that was one of the things you helped us with is just putting it in front of our face. We're like, huh. And seeing how much money we make every year, and then like, wait a second, our savings should look different. Our retirement should look different. We make more than enough. Like this is weird, you know? And so working that out and you helping facilitate that was really a blessing. And so seeing that in real time was one of those things that made me aware of some things that I needed to just do a little bit of a shift, change a little bit of a directive. And it doesn't, you're not like, because I think one of the things we hear talking about retirement, we talk about investing, people go immediately, crud, now I'm not going to have extra money to go do X, Y, or Z. Right. Well, you still can. You just have to be thoughtful with what you have in your bank account. You don't just go carte blanche. Right.
Well, and it's It's an exercise in priority.
Yes.
At the end of the day, what's your priority? If it's, living a certain lifestyle, enjoying a certain thing, then that's fine.
Yeah.
Your money and your finances should match what your priorities are. And so that's part of the conversation I have with clients too, is after we've established a plan, after we've set goals and come up with strategies, we have regular meetings. Yes. And we dive into, hey, how's your, $100 a month savings plan going to meet this goal that you said you wanted to do? And if they're, been inconsistent, then it's like, okay, is this really important to you?
Sure.
You said it is, but your actions aren't following suit. That's another benefit of working with a professional is accountability.
Accountability.
When I have a husband and a wife who, it's easy for me to enter in, not a part of their marriage, and say, hey, you said this was important. This is what you're doing. Help this make sense, rather than it being a conflict between man and wife. You have a third party who is trusting in what you've communicated and say, hey, this is what you said. This is what you're doing.
You agreed upon this as a couple beforehand. You said you wanted to achieve X, Y, and Z. You're falling short here. Let me help you get to the position where you can achieve what you said you wanted to achieve.
Right. So, or even, financial plans aren't like one and done. Life happens. So in those meetings, if a goal has shifted, a priority has changed, that's part of the conversation. You said this was important. This is what you said you were going to do. You're not quite doing that. Has something changed? Yeah, we're actually moved that down on the list. We're going to prioritize this. Okay, let's make a change, So it's a holistic approach. It's, something I came across recently was the danger of social media financial advice. You have all these people who present themselves as experts, who have no credentials, who have limited experience, but they have the foolproof, broad stroke cheat or hack to get you, tax-free income from your business. And all you have to do is put it in this special trust, and then you'll never pay taxes. And it's like, okay.
You'll be a millionaire in 30 days.
Again, it comes down to there's no broad solution. There's specific advice where you have a relationship with a professional. They work with you to establish goals. They work with you to analyze where you are, and they come up with a personalized strategy to get there. There's no one and done. And I think we just need to be cautious when we see social media because it's so prevalent, and everybody has an opinion, and you can't tell who's an expert and who's not. And so,
and because we can throw up primarily highlight reels, and you can make yourself look like something you're really not. And the tested proof is what's the longevity of your ministry? What's the longevity of your business? We just had hailstorms not too long ago, and we've got 7,500 different roofing companies coming through going, hey, I can fix your roof. Well, I don't know who you are. And so you have to be careful who you put your investments with, who you put your trust in. And because a lot of people can make themselves look good on social media. I mean, we have AI now is a weird animal, and it's turned things into, you can make things really, really look amazing that, are actually garbage. But you have to be careful with those things. And so,
well, and usually there's a product behind it. Somebody says, this is the hack, all you have to do, and here's my book, it only costs you $5.99, and you can have, or here's my free article that then leads you to a product that they happen to be selling.
Here's a Substack page, and if you just $30 a month, I'll help you for $30 a month. Like, wait a second.
Well, and that's the thing. We always talk about how your relationship with your financial advisor, your financial professional, is a lot like a marriage. They know everything about you, just about. And so you should choose carefully who you trust. And, you can always dip your foot in. You can start slow. And we pride ourselves at Revo on being faithful. We present our, who we are, and then we seek to prove it over time. And so, we're all for lifelong relationships.
And I think that's where the benefits come, is when you spend a lot of time with somebody, they do get to know you, and they know how to help and what's best. Like, when it comes to, it's the same idea as a marriage. I mean, I know my wife knows me, she knows what I like, she knows what I don't like. And so those are super helpful when it comes to building a relationship. So one of the things that somebody asked was about debt. What's your thoughts on debt?
So high level, debt is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used appropriately, or it can be used and abused inappropriately, and there are usually severe consequences for it. Debt can be a powerful tool to take your financial resources and leverage into something profitable like a business, you should be careful and considerate and, highly detail focused on what that loan amount and those loan details are. But debt can be used responsibly. One of the things that is prevalent at least in the United States, is over dependency on consumer debt. So we're talking credit cards that have 20-25% interest rates.
And you use it to buy a TV or go Christmas shopping.
And so, it can exacerbate bad behaviors and it really just reveals the heart of the person using it.
Come on.
That's where accountability comes in. That's where, and the other thing about debt is once you're in, particularly if it's high interest rate,
hard to get out.
It's hard to get out. Doesn't mean you can't, but you have to be intentional. So there's really good, responsible use of debt, whether it's for business, whether it's for home ownership. Car loans can be questionable. A car is not an investment; it's an expense.
Depreciating liability.
So there is a good way to use debt. I mean, we see examples of debt in Scripture where you have the parable of the faithful steward, where money is loaned and a profit is expected. Yep. So there's no prohibition against debt in Scripture. What's detailed in Scripture is being a good steward of your resources, and sometimes that involves credit, but it should be used in a way that takes your limited resources, expands it to allow you to develop a profitable business that can then pay back the debt that you owe. Yeah. And in reality, investing is use of debt. So,
yes,
when you invest in a company, you're loaning money to that company for use in their business, and they say, we will pay you, if it's a bond or something, they pay you a defined amount. If it's equities, it's a share in profits of the business. So we use debt in society in responsible ways all the time. It's just personal practice. You just need to be intentional. Yeah. You need to have a plan. You need to have a productive use of that debt. And you need to view debt as another tool that can be used for the glory of God or abused. Yep. And you can become slave to that debt, which I think is detailed in that passage that says the borrower is slave to the lender. Yeah. We also see debt as a means of providing for people who don't have financial capabilities. Mm-hmm. And I think, loaning without expecting return of payment or loaning money to someone in need at a very low, reasonable rate, I wouldn't necessarily say 0% because of inflation, but sure. But still, there are good ways to use debt, and there are bad ways, and knowing the difference is the most important thing.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that if we can do is when it comes to debt is be wise. Mm-hmm. Having somebody that can give you solid biblical advice. If you're a believer, if you're a Christian, having somebody that comes alongside you and says, okay, we've looked at this as well. We're a third party in this thing, man. This looks like a fantastic opportunity for you, or man, this doesn't look really wise. I mean, having a good counselor, having a good counsel. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
But I think that's the key to understanding whether or not debt is going to be beneficial or harmful. So
right, and we really should be examining our use of it. Yes. I mean, are you trying to maintain a certain lifestyle, or is it simple as delaying your gratification, preparing and planning, and not letting your lifestyle dictate how you spend your money and how you use debt?
Well, I think so many people are concerned about, well, I want to keep up with the Joneses. Well,
right.
My neighbor next door, he's got that new mower and his yard looks good, and I don't want my yard to look bad, so I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy, spend $2,000 on a mower that I really don't have the money for, because at the end of the day, in 100 years, no one's going to care what my yard looks like.
Well, yeah, and your mower is not going to be existing either.
No, none of these things. And so we're trying to keep up the appearances. And it's oftentimes one of the most damning things that we can do in our own lives is trying to keep up appearances because we want to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
And I just think that's silly.
I think that's what Christ is pointing to when he describes, you can't serve two masters.
Come on, yes.
You can either serve God or you can serve money. Money isn't bad. Money is not evil. It's the love of money that is a problem.
I mean, if we stacked this room full of $100 bills from floor to ceiling, just did this whole square room right here, that money would not sin. Now, the people trying to get into this room to try to steal it,
right?
That's a difference. The love of money is the thing that destroys human beings.
Yeah.
So I just think we need to be wise and just have people around us who love the Lord, love us, and want to see us succeed. And sometimes that's telling you, no, that's probably not a good idea.
Right.
That's probably a bad way to spend the money. That's the ultimate level of love. It's not, you do whatever makes you happy, because that's the worst kind of friendship, is the friendship that's like, hey, you do whatever makes you happy. Chase your dreams, fella.
Yeah.
Like, that's horrible.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
So I can say from personal experience, I know the people when they're thinking about talking to a financial advisor, they're always, one of the things, I just don't want to sit down and have that. It's going to be painful. It's going to be difficult. I can say with full confidence, it was not painful. We sat down with you, my wife and I, we dedicated an hour, we sat down and we went through the whole thing. And we've got follow-up meetings with you, and we're excited to see what God's going to be doing and all this stuff. So I would encourage people, get a hold of Lucas and his team. They've got, they can handle all of, they've got all the credentials, they've got all the backing, they've got all the history of being able to prove they've been doing it the right way.
Yeah.
And you've got a fantastic list of clients that you've been working with for years and years and years. Take the time to just meet with them. And I'm telling you, you're not going to be disappointed. And I can guarantee you, in 20 years, when we fast forward and I come back and look at our investments, I'm not going to be like, well, I wish I had done that. Like, we're going to say, golly, I'm so glad I took that hour and a half. I took those couple of moments and sat down and planned for my future.
Yeah.
Because everything else, you made the analogy. We plan a lot for our vacations. Why did the wedding go so well? Well, you put all that time and effort and interest into making sure the wedding was going to go well. And it was a success. Why? Because you were intentional.
Yep.
You planned well,
Yep.
and it was an amazing event.
Yeah.
But then you fast forward and you say, why is the marriage falling apart? Because you've not been planning. You planned the wedding, and it was a major success.
Yeah.
Make sure you're sitting down with your spouse, sitting down with your family, saying, okay, what's our goals for this year? What do we want to do? Well, I'd like to go see New York at Christmas time. Okay, look, what is it going to cost to do that? And we have to be intentional. Okay, say, we're going to set aside money for this. In 20 years, I want to be able to relax and enjoy my old age and play with my grandkids. How do I do that? How do I get to that
Work when you
spot?
want to.
Yeah, work when I want to. How can I enjoy my grandkids and invest and leave something for my kids and my grandkids?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
That's what I got out of our meeting. And I would encourage everybody to do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, they can reach out to me through LinkedIn. I'm also on Facebook. We have a Revo Financial Facebook page as well. And then we have our website, revofinancial.com. They can submit a contact form. That actually goes to me, and I'll follow up and set an appointment, have a discussion. Our initial one-on-one conversation is no obligation, free of charge. We can sit down, discuss what you're trying to do, see how we can help, and then, plan from there.
Love it. I love it. Anything else you want to impart to us before we...
I think the most important thing about finances, I think I said this to you recently, everybody has a history. Everybody has a series of decisions maybe they're not satisfied with.
Yes.
And the saying goes, the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago, but the second best time is now. And again, as it goes to legacy and leaving an inheritance, planting that tree now, can provide fruit for generations.
Yes.
And so it's not getting hung up on whether you have enough money or whether you have made mistakes financially, but instead saying, you know what, I'm going to do what's right starting now. I'm going to work with a professional. I'm going to get clarity on my finances. I'm going to define some goals with a trusted financial advisor, and I'm going to be a good steward going forward. If you've not been a good steward, repentance is always great.
Yep.
Cleanses the soul. God is faithful to forgive.
Yes.
And then, Christ says, "Go and sin no more." Be intentional. Get a good return on what God has provided for you, both financially, but God gifts much beyond just finances.
Come on.
Finances, family, friends, businesses, all these, the gospel itself, all these things are things to be stewarded and to be stewarded well. And so stop being lazy about it and act. Like, start now. That's the best advice I can give, is start now.
Love it. Well, thanks so much for coming on the program
Thanks
and
for having
sharing
me.
insight to help people invest in their future.
Absolutely.
Revo Financial is registered as an investment advisor with the SEC and only transacts business in states where it is properly notice filed or is excluded from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators and does not mean that the advisor has attained a particular level of skill or ability. Always consult an attorney or tax professional regarding your specific legal or tax situation.
Revo Financial is a sponsor of the Caleb Gordon podcast.